Here for the Daich coating spreadstone tile refinish. This is what you get in the kit. You get 6 cans here. The first one is a cleaning agent, citric acid. The second is a bonding agent, and I've already done those 2 processes. So the kit comes with a little pan, a brush, and some roller covers. I'm going to show the process. There wasn't a whole lot of videos, homemade videos, other than the corporate one, which was not so great. I'm going to show the process as I do this. This is the Daich coating video, step 2. All the grout lines. The next step would be painting the bond layer on the entire thing with a roller. I'm going to do that next. I've finished the bonding coat. Did the clean first with the citric acid. I don't have video of that, but then I showed how I painted the tile grout first and then went over it with a roller. I know this base is 48 by 32. It's new, so I know that I ran out, just as I covered it completely, I ran out of the coat, the bonding agent. So that's about 50 square feet. My only concerns on the bonding agent was that it went on really thick and dried really fast. They tell you to brush on the grout first and then roller the rest of it. By the time I got to the roller, the grout was already pretty well dry, and you'll see some brush strokes around the grout lines. And I am a little concerned about that. It definitely goes on thick. All right, there is the grout lines painted from the 3rd step. I'm about to roll on the 3rd step and finish up with this, and then we'll start doing the design work. Moving right along, this is the completed 3rd step. I did all the grout lines and then I rolled on the base coat. Again, with this size shower, I've used up just about all of it. So we're just at about 50 square feet. My biggest concern, again, the base coat is pretty thick, not quite as thick as the bond coat, but pretty thick. And by filling in all the grout lines first, it started to dry. You need to work in sections to keep it from drying and showing too many brush strokes because it's so thick and it's drying so fast. It is a little humid in here, but it was 50 degrees last night in the Midwest, so we're not in the heat of summer yet. And of course, there's air conditioning here keeping the house at 72 degrees. But I think if you can see closely, the middle of the squares, the tiles are a little bit lighter because of the way the grout lines started to dry, and then you roll on a coat, and that the rolled on coat becomes a little thinner. But I'm not too worried about that because there's going to be variations in the color when we start to put on the artistic accent coats, which are next. So I need to let this dry for about an hour, I guess, according to the instructions, and then start the accent coats. Just got done with step 4, which is the first accent color. And this is the first time I've been a little unsure about how this is going to turn out. There's a little more pattern than I suspected. I put it on really light. I tried to break up the pattern as much as possible. And I did pick sections of the sponge out, but I didn't pick the sponge, the sections of the edge out, and the edge is really showing up. So I've torn some edge pieces out to kind of break up the edge of the sponge, and I've also cut or pulled out another piece of sponge to kind of, with the next color, add a different element to break up the pattern. So hopefully that'll work out. We'll see. About to start the next one. Okay, I haven't shown actual painting technique yet. And I was getting a little discouraged with that last coat. But when I started putting this third coat, which is the highlight access, I actually started getting encouraged again because it was covering up the patterns that I was noticing coming through with the first two, or the first accent. And it really was it's breaking up that pattern considerably and giving me more of that natural look. Now you can see how I'm putting this on. I'm even being probably a little more random with it as well than I was with the last one. Oh, that I got on a little too thick in that spot. And that's one of the issues. There's not much you can do to go back once you put it on. But once I get enough paint off the roller, I'll probably be able to break that up. Now, the other thing is they don't show you on the corporate video is how to do edges. And it really isn't a good technique, except you obviously don't want to leave any patches with no color, so you have to kind of be creative and go along the edge, but then break it up with some of that cross hatching that they talk about. And that's what I did here on the edge. I got too close to the edge with too much paint on the roller at one time. So that I'm gonna have to break that up a little bit. But I'm actually encouraged by this third layer. I could see how I could quickly overdo it and start to hate it too. So I'm gonna quit talking and probably quit on this section and move to the next wall here. I've been doing the walls a section at a time. So, yeah, that line that I created there is actually starting to break up as I come in and randomly just break up that color a little bit. It'll be a little more obvious than others, but I've noticed, yeah, not to put a little bit more, you know, to not put equal pressure on the roller, to actually vary the pressure on the sides, and you get some different modeling of the colors. So, all right, we'll move to the next one. Okay, I'm getting close to the end of this third accent, or this third color, and I thought I'd mention a couple things here. I pretty much followed the instructions with all of this, except I did want to show a little bit more of the dark color through. So I haven't been doing what they show in the video is scrubbing the paint after you put these highlight sections on. They recommend that when the roller starts to get dry, you start scrubbing the areas. I haven't been doing that quite as much as they show in the video, because I want the dark to show through more. We just repainted the master bedroom and have an accent wall that's about a chocolate colored accent wall. So we went to darker colors instead of the slate, which is what this is, the oak stone. And it's a lot lighter online in the pictures than we wanted. So I knew, and that might be some of the cause for the patterning too. But this third layer is really breaking up any patterns that I was starting to see. So I'm really starting to like this. like what I'm seeing here. Now, as you can see, I'm getting as my roller gets dry, I am starting to just very lightly go over the whole thing, just ever so lightly. They show it almost scrubbing looks like pushing the extra color onto the wall, and I really don't want to cover up the dark spots. Matter of fact, I held back a little of the darkest color, the base color, and I think I'm going to pull that out and just go over and add a little dark back over top of the light colors. And there's just very little of it left, but it might be nice to add a little bit of that dark over top. I might test it. I'll test it in the spot before I do that, but really starting to like this. I'm not sure it looks like natural stone unless you just look at a small section, which is what they show you online. And my grout lines were really high because we re-grouted a couple years ago. So it was impossible to keep those defined grout lines like they recommend. Well, not quite impossible, but I'm not gonna repaint all those or dig all that color out of there. I'm not worried about that. It's obviously a faux painting technique. It's not a faux brick or faux tile. It's not real. So, and I'm not worried about defined grout lines. So, but definitely like the way it's starting to come out now. Just make sure that a little bit of this color ends up strategically everywhere. We're getting close to the final color application here, but I have to admit I had to cheat. And that means I didn't follow their directions completely. After my last video, I started looking at all the patterns and lines, and what I ended up doing was opening up the 3 color cans and ripping off a chunk of sponge and got creative, because it just, if I wasn't going to work in the colors into a really blah, light, ugly color, it was going to show too much of the pattern of the roller. They really set you up for a little bit of failure, although it is easy, and you can do this. Anybody can do this, but the first thing you should do when you get your kit is pick the edge of the sponge, pick sponge material off both edges of this sponge, so you don't have a straight line, because if you have a straight line, you're going to get things that don't look realistic. You're going to get a pattern that does not look realistic. The clear coat was the last step. I ended up just rolling it on and not brushing it because I didn't want brush strokes in the clear coat, and I was able to, there was enough of it actually to do 2 coats. So we'll see how it lasts. There you have it. Just used the custom shower for the first time. Ended up using a little caulk around the door, matching brown caulk, matching the tile. Looks good, and hope it lasts.